Okay. Okay. So the Archives is a podcast where we talk about topics that we think are the list of topics that we think are essential for any human being who's alive today to be aware of. So, as a rundown, these topics include politics, philosophy, psychology, financial literacy, digital literacy. What am I missing? Productivity and just a growth mindset, big history, history in general, really. And yeah, I think that's it.
Nice, bro. You remember?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so today we have a special guest who's off camera. His name is Gotham.
Nice to meet y'all.
He's gonna be throwing a series of questions for us to answer. Oh shit. Okay, we can cut this out, no?
No, it's fine. Let's just continue.
Okay. Well,
Okay, what topic are we gonna talk about today?
what do you want to talk about?
Let's start with cryptocurrency because that's a huge topic in the financial literacy space, and I just found out that some chick has run off with $500 million.
Oh, it's that professor.
Yeah, so basically, there was this cryptocurrency called OneCoin, and I don't know the details. This is just a complete bare bones explanation. I might make mistakes, but essentially, there was this Bulgarian lady or Eastern European lady, Dr. Ruja, and she made this OneCoin. I think it was in 2017. Gautam, can you check if the cryptocurrency lady, Dr. Ruja, was which year and any details of just a brief of that subject? But basically, what happened was she started this cryptocurrency called OneCoin, I think, and the message that what it was sold as was the thing that disrupts the financial industry as we know it. So this is what the banks would eliminate banks. So basically, what Bitcoin was supposed to be, they said this was it. And essentially, like any overhyped thing, it was people started buying into it even when they couldn't afford to, and it was sold as like a get rich quick scheme.
Like most crypto is.
Like most crypto scene, yeah, exactly. And OneCoin, they started selling investments. So they would ask for investment because the cryptocurrency hadn't been built yet. And they started getting investment, and what people would get in exchange for that investment was equivalent value in the cryptocurrency and also educational packages. So that's essentially just educating them on cryptocurrency and blockchain and that kind of stuff. And people bought in, like the packages started from like 500, went all the way to like 5 grand to 50 grand maybe, or more, I don't remember exactly. And they amassed more than $1 billion. And now she suddenly just dropped off the face of the earth.
Of course.
With $500 million missing.
She disappeared in 2017.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It says just as law enforcement was starting to get wind of the company.
Yeah. Her brother, when she disappeared, her brother took over, and now he's in jail.
The brother.
Yeah.
Do you know why the brother's in jail?
I don't know why. I would assume it was something to do with the company.
I mean, that makes sense. But what was interesting about this story and the reason why it got so much traction, this crypto,
Yeah.
is because, like you said, dude, no prototype or anything like that was shown. It was all based on reputation of the.
Yeah.
What was she? What was she? A professor, you said.
I'm not a professor. She worked in McKinsey Group,
Oh, okay.
and she had like PhD or some high level degrees, credentials, backing everything she said. And essentially, it was just multi-level marketing. Like they hired people who would earn money based on the people they got, and each level of that would earn some money as well. So they were all incentivized by monetary reasons,
Yeah.
and that just spread, and it's grown incredibly strong. Because right now, the people who have like quote unquote lost money, some of them still support her. They believe that she ran off because the banks are trying to kill her because she would eradicate the banks. So some of them still believe, even though they're not going to see the money again ever again. Like people have lost
They're never gonna
thousands
see
of dollars.
her again, probably, until
Or
she
her.
dies.
Yeah, some think that they killed her already. Some people think that she's in hiding. So it's people are really like been sold onto this, and now people rationalize and
Wow.
stuff like that.
It's funny because, I mean, we were just watching that video earlier, and it's just crypto is sold as a get money quick scheme.
Yeah, yeah.
And matter of fact, in December, I was in Colombia, right? And I went to this shop that a guy I went to school had opened. Basically, one of the guys there, one of the employees, one of his partners, he was trying to get me to sign up to this crypto website because, yeah, obviously, like he's gonna get crypto if he refers me.
Yeah, exactly the same
So-
thing.
It's funny that we're talking about because I didn't know about that lady until you told me. And I think crypto has successfully scaled into such an important thing. It's not what it started as, bro. Many people when it started they were downplaying it so much. Then all the Bitcoin stuff happened.
The bubble.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically. And yeah, it's just crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know that much about crypto.
Yeah.
I'm still learning, but
Dude, like I've looked into not as much as a professional by any means, but a fair amount because I think in 2 years ago, I got into
yeah, I
the
remember.
whole trading, trying to trade. So I did a lot of research, and dude, at the like center of blockchain technology that drives cryptocurrency, it makes a lot of sense, and it has a great amount of value in today's society. Because basically, what it is, if you let's go back to the history of currency, right? And what is currency? Currency is something that holds value. So like if you're selling me an apple and I want that apple, but before, okay, let's go even further back. Let's go to the barter system because that's how it started, right? Transactions, monetary transactions. So barter system, the obvious handicap is that what makes one apple worth one sheep? Like it's very arbitrary.
Right.
It's hard to standardize, especially like when you start going further distance away from home and when you have different cultures and all, it just gets really messy.
It's hard to give value to things,
Exactly.
basically.
Exactly. And so then we moved to the various currencies and eventually we landed up on the one that we're familiar today, something that is standard, that's accepted by everyone, and once it's accepted by everyone, only then it holds value. Because if everyone doesn't accept it, it's useless. Like if dollar wasn't used, let's
Any currency.
yeah, any
Money in
currency.
general.
Yeah, exactly. And what gold did, going back to gold, what gold did was it was decentralized, and by that I mean no one person controlled all the gold because of its pure physicality. Like if you had a piece of gold, I can't control it, right? Because you literally have it. And two, it was highly, because of the limited quantity, you can't have an sudden explosion of supply or in gold. So there's no inflation, because like what happens with inflation is the government just pours in more and more money, so each unit money is worth less, right? You can't have that with gold because it's a fixed amount.
Yeah.
So, but the issue with those two things is the decentralization came at a high price, right? Because you physically had to have it, and if you want to give it to someone, make a transaction, you had to physically go exchange it. So that was the issue with it. And then after gold, we got the currency we use today. Now that fixed the convenience part, but that came at a price of the decentralization part. Now it's central. Now the government owns the money. They get to print it, and that's just, well, the issue is pretty evident. That's only one person controls it. Now, what cryptocurrency did was it's the first currency that solved both the problems. So one, it was decentralized. It's by definition, no one person owns it. It's all on this thing that we call the blockchain, the ledger, and so that's all. And no one person controls it. It's all. Everyone has the same access to the same ledger. Everyone can see it. Everyone knows how much there is and whatnot. And two, there's a fixed supply. It's 21 million. So now, obviously, that's the core value to it. But now, there are other issues to it, which is one, like any currency, until everyone doesn't accept it, it's inherently useless.
But do they have to accept only one type of currency, or like, because there's different types of currencies, like
Yeah.
Ethereum,
Yeah.
like so to ensure like the success of like the currency, should there be only one type, or is it like possible to have many types of cryptocurrencies? Like, do you get what I'm saying?
So you mean, will there be only one useful one? And if there's that one useful one and none are useful, are you saying that?
Yeah, like that.
I personally think that can never happen.
Yeah, it's
For one type of currency to be.
That's like it's impossible. How do you make everybody accept one? But no, it's. I mean, crypto today is. It's kind of like a stock market in a way. It's currency, and the more people accept crypto in general, I think, the more there's gonna come up. Some are gonna come up as clear winners. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And slowly what happens to everything, every system will happen to crypto.
it is a secure. It can
Yeah.
be acted as an investment.
Exactly, and there's going to be a number of cryptos if this technology does pan
Yeah.
out, which it looks like it's going to more and more every day.
Because the technology is blockchain, and that's 100% going to be.
Oh, blockchain's
So
going
that's
to
a
be everywhere.
different. That's a.
Blockchain's
different
going to
topic.
be everywhere, but
Yeah.
we don't know what the hell's going to happen with money.
Yeah. Going back to your question, that think about it like money today, right? The US dollar is the standard, right?
Yeah.
So there will be one standard, but in subgroups, in smaller groups, they might have their own currency because they might accept one.
So,
one-
but that's like divided by country and shit, right? So like US dollar,
Yeah.
US.
Yeah, this
So
won't
how
be
do you
divided
think-
by country.
Yeah. So how do you think it's gonna be divided?
It's based on the communities. For example, if let's say hypothetically that there's a new Facebook, like a new application which people interact, and that place happens to start a marketplace. So all the people now, let's say 100 million. Let's say 100 million people are on this app, and 100 million people are interacting, and now that app starts a new offering in which you can put up your stuff to sell. But on the rule that in that marketplace you can only use their currency. So naturally everyone will adopt it, and then you have a new currency.
So that's gonna create like.
There's going to be the communities of each currency.
So the like, will one currency be more valued than the other? It should be, right?
Yeah,
Depending on like how widely accepted it is.
yeah, and what it's used for. Like the more and like, for example, right now different cryptocurrencies are valued differently. Because Bitcoin is worth at the moment like 8,000 maybe one Bitcoin, and other currencies are worth nothing.
Is it based on like the limited supply, or is it just because of the like function of what it does?
The value.
Yeah.
I mean, value is a collective representation of our opinions. It's like saying the value of the U.S. stock market or any stock market.
Oh,
It
okay,
collectively represents what we, on average, think it's worth. It doesn't have like your phone isn't inherently worth $600 or $1,000, whatever it is. It's because we all accept it to be 1,000.
Well,
You know
like,
what I mean?
like money in itself, it can be printed, right? Like it's not in limited supply.
Which
like
one?
you said, like paper money, like whatever.
Like no.
Yeah.
And
The
like,
it's all up to the government.
and crypto is like limited.
Not crypto, Bitcoin.
I mean, Bitcoin
It depends
is
on the
limited.
crypto. Yeah. So, but that what I meant was that's an advantage of. Like, cause the person who created Bitcoin, he created it with the rule that
Yeah.
not more than 21 million can be in supply.
Yeah. So the value is based on the limited, like the 21 million that's there, right?
Yeah.
It's
it
not.
has to be. It has to be.
Yeah. Okay.
Like there cannot be more than 21 million. So, because right now there isn't 21 million. It's still there's a good chunk of it not still come into supply, because that's how the guy who made it, I don't exactly remember what, but he said like in the system, when he made it, that
I
there are
remember.
rules every.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that every certain time period after it expires, he's gonna release. There's gonna be more Bitcoin into the system.
So that one person's, I mean, whoever
That,
that
doesn't
entity
that
is.
Bitcoin enter through miners, basically?
Yeah, I mean,
It does.
I'm not sure, but yeah, it could be.
I was just watching that video about how the whole
Yeah, no,
mining
in fact
works.
it does. Yeah,
Yeah, it enters through miners, and every year you get a certain less amount of Bitcoin. But the formula is in such a way that it'll hold the same value. It just won't be as much. So inherently, like, it's gonna keep diluting as more currency comes in until it's 21 million.
So wait,
right?
Bitcoin is gonna get devalued as other currencies come in.
No.
No,
A
see,
Bitcoin
it
is gonna
could
become
be-
more and more valuable. Basically, is what the formula says.
No,
Yeah.
no.
More are
no,
gonna
no.
get released, and okay.
The more are going to be released,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then the value determines is based on what we think it is worth. If more come and everyone starts accepting Bitcoin, it's not going to be worth anything. If more comes and more people, because right now a very small percentage of the world is using Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So once more, if more come and simultaneously more people come onto it, it could be worth more.
What I meant will keep ascending in value is if all things are true, and it works in the way that
Yeah.
it was programmed to work. Obviously, that's very arbitrary because you can't really predict
Yeah.
what people are gonna want. It does sound pretty good, though. It just opens the door for crypto. I think it did open the door for
Yeah.
crypto, honestly.
Yeah.
In terms of like scalability, right? And I'm talking about Bitcoin in particular.
Yeah.
Like, do you think how widely acceptable is it going to be? Like, according
My
to you?
prediction.
Yeah. Because there's this one entity releasing very limited.
But that's the thing. There's no entity.
I mean, who's like releasing it then? Like,
No, like.
Okay,
is,
so-
is there coins that are
From
being
us.
created, or is it?
It's okay when we make another copy of a file,
Yeah,
we've created a new copy.
yeah,
So if we have a system, a program, let's call programs that if you have a program that is written to just copy files, that means the program's creating files, right?
okay.
So
So it just automatically
it's a
gets
program
created.
that's been put on the internet because internet having the internet is a prerequisite to having blockchain. You cannot
Yeah.
have blockchain without the internet.
Is there like, it's unknown, right? When there's gonna be like more.
No, okay, so I think I get what you're asking. So the way that more Bitcoins enter the market,
Yeah.
at least the way I understand it, is people are miners, right? What is a miner? A miner is a person that basically gives computer power to validate whatever transaction you just made. So if I send 50 Bitcoin, basically somebody has to approve, like some computer power has to be there
Yeah.
to approve that transaction. And for mining, for being the first to finish this, it's basically an equation that
Okay.
makes it 1 in 5 something million. An impossible number.
very difficult problem.
Yeah, it's an impossible number that it's wrong. And so, for doing that, first, you're rewarded with a certain amount of Bitcoin. Now, every year, the program is made in such a way that you'll get less Bitcoin. But if the program works as it's meant to, meaning from what I understand that people adopt it, then your currency, even though you're getting less for
You
mining,
work more.
it's gonna be the same value as before. So it's gonna be worth the same much to you, but the currency will change in value. Like ideally, it will continue to accumulate value, and 1 Bitcoin will be eventually broken down, and it'll still hold a lot of value. It'll be like point something Bitcoin. Obviously, this isn't a perfect system, but that's the way it's supposed to work, as I understood it.
So can you like as you said you give out like for mining you give out computer power and then you're rewarded by that, right?
You're rewarded by doing it first.
Yeah, if you
You
solve
have
the
to
problem.
have enough computing power and technical prowess to be able to get to it, and process it the fastest. So people spend thousands of dollars
Yeah.
So
on processing power and graphics card and just processing
Yeah.
CAD.
They have like farms, dude, like server
Yeah.
farms just to do this.
So, like, imagine other people, right, who don't have these farms. Would their value of whatever Bitcoin they have get devalued? Because
Why?
more Bitcoins are given out, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the
People-
government does that.
But
the same
so that's
system.
why, for because of that reason, that possibility, over time, each time more Bitcoin is released in the system, it's incrementally low until it'll stop when it hits 21 million.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Because right now, the people who have adopted it are like a really, really small minority. So like, we have no idea what it could be worth. It could, if it becomes, in fact, if it becomes as widely accepted as the US dollar, if it becomes the new standard, then we wouldn't know, because everything we value will be in terms of Bitcoin. Like how we say something's worth like X
It'll be like a
terms of
whole new
USD.
type of value, right?
It'll be the new standard. That's
Yeah.
what everything will be worth
It'll look
based on
different,
that.
but it'll work this. It looks different, but it'll work the same. That is if Bitcoin replaces the US dollar.
Yeah, but
If it works the same, won't it have the same problems?
No, because
No.
it's so the way it works is through blockchain, right?
Yeah.
And blockchain just means a decentralized ledger of every transaction. So you cut out the need for banks in that situation if you use that for financials. And that's what crypto's aiming to do. And that's why crypto has been in such a tricky situation as it's grown bigger and bigger. Because they try to regulate it, but how do you regulate cryptocurrency?
But if you regulate it,
can't.
doesn't that defeat the whole purpose?
You can, that's the point.
at the okay, so like this is going to first principles. This is how I at least began my I thought that I gained the possibility of understanding it, and that is at the core of the problem it's trying to solve is it's trying to solve the trust problem. It's just eliminating the middleman.
Okay.
So how do you automate trust? How do you automate if I do something, I get reciprocated with what I'm expected to get?
So it's done by everyone.
So instead of, so what we do right now when we send money, right? We trust, not send money or even just keep money. We are trusting our banks.
Yeah.
If the banks don't do what they say they will do, I mean, it'll be a problem. They'll get into illegal trouble, but they can still do it. And this, so like now with the Bitcoin, with the cryptocurrency wallet, first of all, the money is with every person who has each computer with access to the, let's say, blockchain, the blockchain system. There's a copy of your money in every system. So there's no way of like, and if you want to change it,
Yeah.
what I mean by sending money, every copy of that ledger will get the fact that you sent that money. So by like no one, because if someone wants to hack it, if someone wants to make illegal, by illegal I mean anything that's not in the system programmed, then they'll have to change every person's copy.
Ever.
Mm.
So in fact, by more people adopting it, the safer it gets.
Okay.
And yeah, dude. So like, this is how it solved the trust issue. It's solved. So now that's why people say that blockchain is much more than just the cryptocurrency because right now, what blockchain allows, another example is having what they call I forget the name, autonomous. Or basically it's an autonomous company. So you write the program for a company, right? And that's it. You leave, and it does all the work. So an example of that would be, imagine autonomous Uber. So you program a car, it drives on its own, right? That's all already happening. And then you program the car to go to the gas station, and you give it its cryptocurrency. It fills the fuel. It has a software which gets location of the passengers. They get the request, they accept it, they do it, they go pick up, they drop them off, and it's all automated. There's no human interaction. And blockchain, because of what's called smart contracts, so basically the trust issue, like the contract has to be like if you sign a smart contract, there's no out of it. So if you do something, you will get the whatever you're set to get. And so that's how they can code in buying fuel, taking money from passengers, because all those are like when you get Uber, you're signing a contract essentially that you will pay this money, he'll drop you, all that
Yeah.
stuff. So they allow DAOs, distributed autonomous companies, or something like that. But yeah, like that's an example. Like you can make whole enterprises function on its own because of blockchain. So can you imagine that?
That's insane.
That is insane, dude.
Just think about that. Being able to be picked up by I mean, Uber's already working on this. They do have some kind of autonomous car, and I don't know if this is true, but I think I remember reading some ride sharing app
Yeah.
is working with blockchain, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, dude,
That'd be insane.
dude, they would be stupid to not do it because blockchain is gonna, you know how the internet creeped into every industry.
Yeah.
Like if you don't use technology is a better word. If you don't use technology in any business, you're losing. You know what I mean?
It's almost impossible in some businesses.
Exactly. No. Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
completely impossible
Exactly.
in some businesses.
And blockchain is gonna be exactly that. Like right now, if like, what's a really common business? Let's say food restaurants. If you're not on DoorDash, you're losing. If you're not on Uber Eats, you're losing because most of your demand is gonna come from there, right? So likewise, in the future, now I don't know how, but it's gonna be if you're not on the blockchain application of your industry, you're losing. So every company is gonna need blockchains in some way or the other. Yeah. Dude, that's why from all the exponential technologies that are the 7 or 8 that are like known to us, blockchain is probably the most. I mean, this is opinion, but it's probably the most holds the most potential for influence.
Isn't it already being used by some pretty big companies like
Blockchain.
Accenture and shit?
Samsung and Salesforce, at least their investment divisions, just invested in some company that developed some kind of e-contract that was.
Yeah, smart contracts. That's
Yeah,
exactly what I was
yeah.
talking about.
I
Yeah,
wasn't sure if that was that one, but yeah,
yeah, that's exactly what I
smart
was talking about.
contracts. So, big tech companies are already on it.
I think even like, if I'm not wrong, I think HSBC also, like one of the big banks,
Yeah.
they like,
Yeah. So, dude, this I've actually invested in this, but so one of the cryptocurrencies is Ripple, okay,
yeah,
and Ripple is the least. I don't want to say least, but like from common knowledge, that's one of the less distributed ones. That means it's not decentralized. That means the owner of Ripple, who made Ripple, they own it. So it's not completely decentralized, but all the banks have adopted the system because the technology is transferring money at speeds that that banks are incapable of doing. Because right now it takes at least 24 hours.
yeah.
This can transfer any quantity of money across the whole world less in minutes, and it's completely secure because of the cryptocurrency. So a lot of banks have adopted this, and a lot of banks are getting on this train. So that's why they say that mostly the first cryptocurrency that we see in mainstream adoption could be Ripple, because those are by definition going to be used by the banks, because they're going to adopt that in their sending money cross country. They're going to use that system. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, the most popular way of, the most popular blockchain technology right now, at least for common knowledge, is probably crypto. But
Yeah.
blockchain has infinite uses,
Yeah.
even beyond monetary. Just
Yeah.
if it pans out, because the technology's there, we know what it does. If we adopt it, it has the potential to change the world as we know it.
Yeah. Dude, even like that's the prerequisite to be an exponential technology. And
Right.
and there's a dude, like blockchain is one thing, AI is another, then biotech is another, then what else? There are more. Robotics is another. There are like a couple more, but dude, all of these things, if you look at the curve, okay, of cost of average price of the technology and time. So like let's say this is the x-axis is time and the y-axis is cost, right? It's going like this, an exponentially down, curve down. So the numbers are wrong, but the sentiment is true that in 2000 or late 90s, the cost per DNA sequencing, this is an example of biotech, DNA sequencing was like $1 million, one sequence. Now it's down to 100.
Didn't know that.
So like the applications are going to be the whole, because what happened with iPhone was the iPhone had the App Store, and the App Store has become an industry now. It created a whole industry with that, billions of dollars worth of value for the companies, and companies create products that create society, right? So we're going to have new industries, and with new industries comes new definition of society. So each exponential technology by definition is going to have those. So like, I don't know, bro. Like our kids, they're not going to be able to conceptualize what we live in. Like, did you hear about Apple I?
I think you mentioned
What
it
was
earlier.
that? I remember that name. What was
That's so. Oh yeah, another exponential technology, VR, AR, virtual reality, augmented reality. So that's Apple. I think it's called Apple I.
it?
But
Is
it's,
it glasses?
yeah,
I heard about that. Yeah.
it's good.
I
It's,
don't- I haven't seen much about it. What do you?
yeah, I mean
think about
there isn't much about it on the internet. It's just they released the release date or something. I think 2022 of their AR glasses.
That's gonna be something interesting
Yeah, dude.
because we saw Google's. It promised a lot. I don't think it delivered at all, and I don't know. Maybe Apple gets it. Wow. I'll give that company so much more power than it already has. It'll
AR.
be silly.
Yeah, the like AR, Microsoft has explicitly said that they won't get into VR because Microsoft is Xbox, right?
Yeah.
And Sony is PlayStation, and Sony said that they're going to heavily invest in VR. And Microsoft, they said we're not going to do any VR. We're going to do AR. So like it's interesting to see the different paths each company think is going to be the future. I mean, it's just
Interesting.
this shit just.
So what's the main difference between AR and VR? Like,
VR is the whole, like, you think you're in a new world.
yeah,
Your
and
whole
AR is just like
yeah, because it's digitization of actual reality. Virtual reality is a whole simulated reality.
so the Google thing that was AR, right?
AR, yeah.
Like remember Pokemon Go? That game.
Oh
Yeah.
That's it.
yeah.
That's AR. Yeah.
It's a very good example of AR actually.
Yeah, dude. That's, I think, the first mainstream.
Adoption of AR.
it was very
In my
temporary, but yeah, like the first example.
Dude, but
That caught on though.
That
Oh,
got
was
on. Got
a-
on.
You know,
hard.
Minecraft just made their game, or is coming out of their game.
Is that VR? That's
AR,
VR.
that's AR.
Oh, what?
AR? Yeah, I think it's AR.
wait, is it on what platform is it on? How is it gonna be distributed? I don't know.
I mean, it's got to be phone, because how else can you do it?
VR and AR. You.
Minecraft.
Oh, Minecraft.
Yeah. I
No,
mean,
it's
it could be.
Microsoft.
It could
Oh
be.
yeah, that's why I was confused.
It could be VR. The game, they're coming out with AR or VR version of it. I think it's AR because it's like building in real life.
That's insane. There's this, I remember my cousin mentioned it to me, but I don't know if it was Oculus who was doing it or some shit like that.
Mm.
But NBA games, courtside, on your fucking like,
Oh.
dude, can you imagine that?
Yeah,
That'd
that's
be
it.
insane.
Yeah, dude, that's gonna be a staple.
That's gonna be fucking insane, dude.
And even Google Stadia.
Google Stadia is promising a lot.
No, dude, that's what all technology from. Only thing is they advertise this.
No, I know,
Only-
I know. But no, I mean, yeah, that is true. But I don't know, man. I don't think. From what I've read in the technical aspect of Google Stadia,
Yeah.
it works. It's revolutionary because you know what it does, right? You both know what it does.
Yeah.
So, but in reality, not right now. I don't think it's gonna work right now. I think it's gonna have to be revisited because the fact is, majority of people don't have a stable, high-speed.
No,
internet
exactly.
connection.
It's because it's like an infrastructure problem, right?
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah. 100%.
and yeah, just I mean, 5G is promising.
Dude,
to
5G
fix
would
that.
solve that, dude.
5G can solve it, but I mean, 5G is not. I don't think it's a proven technology yet because a lot of. I'm not even because I don't believe in the technology. It's just it's getting a lot of pushback.
Is it?
But isn't
Yeah.
that also based on the infrastructure? Like, it's not good enough to support the technology.
No, 5G is. It's a new technology, right?
Yeah.
It's not really out. Like the price on 5G and all that. That's not what 5G is
Yeah.
intended.
It's
to be.
truly like
Like the
capable of,
potential
yeah.
is much bigger. Like, potential is basically you'll receive internet differently.
Yeah.
Cables are
5G is what allows autonomous cars. If
Yeah.
you don't have 5G, you can't have
That's
autonomous
right.
cars.
but it's also gonna change the way you use the internet. I think at least. Because
Yeah.
I have trouble with my internet all the time. You do too. I don't know about your situation.
No, yeah, everyone. Yeah.
But imagine what developers can do with a steady
Yeah.
5G.
I was gonna
Steady, high
open
speed.
like it's a gateway
Oh
to
my
a whole
God.
other world, dude.
You're gonna be able one day you're gonna be able to play things that are like real life.
Ready Player One.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not even-
That's gonna be it, bro.
Before that's gonna happen, I think that might happen, but before that even, dude, the depth of the games
Yeah.
is gonna be. I'm just saying, I like games, dude. I'm excited.
Yeah, there's gonna be like those dude. If I was like, dude, looking at it as a double-edged sword, because all technology is a double-edged sword.
I mean, when we talk about technology here, it's always hoping for the best.
No, I'm just not saying that it could go down a bad path or good path. I'm saying it does go down both paths. Because right today, like for example, the obvious example, social media, it's done a lot of good, but it's also done a lot of bad. So like I'm like they both. You can't have one without the other. Dude. It's a yin yang type of thing.
Right.
And so like what I was saying was that it would be tough to focus to it on real shit. Because I saw an interesting video, dude. It was about VR, like not technically on VR, but a prediction of what VR could have on society, and I believe it, bro. Because one of the ideas proposed was we're gonna have new forms of mental problems. We're gonna have like virtual reality disorder problem, like someone who in their mind literally thinks that virtual reality is real reality. Because it's gonna get that good, no doubt.
Yeah, so there's just gonna be a different type of reality.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing. When this gets perfected, and it's not an if, it's a when.
It's a win, yeah. Unless we nuke ourselves.
Yeah. like I said, I'm hoping that everything goes well.
Yeah.
It's not. People are not gonna be delusional to think it's a real thing for them.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a real.
Yeah.
It's gonna be real. It's gonna be a reality, a virtual one, but a completely existent and fleshed out reality.
Dude, if they can somehow get, because right now, what media can do, what technology can do, is create media that hits on the visual sense, the hearing sense, auditory, I think that's what it's called, and it's about it, dude. Like they can't hear on touch, smell, and what's our last sense, and taste. So if they can get those three in in a media, in a form of media, whatever it may be, I don't know what it could be, because that's what Ready Player One does. It hits on all five senses, and that would be the perfect simulated reality.
Yeah.
So it's all about when they do that. Because if they can simulate touch,
Dude, that's what I was gonna say.
dude,
Smell
Holy
and
shit.
taste, I think, I don't know, they sound like a less intimidating approach as touch. Just imagine if you can touch something in virtual reality. Then you can, you're just touching something in
Yeah.
somebody's real reality. And if they perfect along that AI, that's just
that's the thing, dude. Right now we're just talking about the different possibilities of each exponential technology, right? But that's the wrong question. The right question is, what's it going to look like when all of them reach that potential and then interact with each other?
God damn.
Because like, yeah, sure, the horse became the car, sure, but then the horse became the car when we had the internet, so we can have self-driving cars. You know what I mean? And that's just like, because that's a stupid example. Like, you get my point.
yeah.
Yeah.
AI.
That is why digital literacy is going to be so important. Like what? Like right now,
Nice segue.
That's a plug.
the whole
No, but
podcast
it's
is plug.
true. It's true, dude. And this shit's not being taught in general education at all.
Oh, yeah.
At any level. You have to go out of your way to learn this.
Yeah, they're like right now we're crying about, oh, I don't know if this is fake, a fake like article or some shit. Like that's the least of your problems. Like, because they're right now, what targeted advertisement does is attack your psyche in ways you can't even comprehend. Like advertising
Yeah.
works. Like it's a $1 billion $1 trillion industry for a reason.
Advertising, social media, etc. And it's funny because the only reason advertising can touch you so much is because, like one of the reasons at least, is because of social media. Social media
Yeah.
advertising has become so big.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Gotham,
Yes.
and pass some water.
Yeah, of course.
Dux, what are you up to?
Don't finish it. Oh, generous.
My God. But yeah, dude.
Okay. Gotham. Do you have anything in particular you want us to talk about?
What do you think about? I don't know much about the topic, but I've been curious about Facebook's Libra situation, bro.
Oh, I don't know much, but they're tanking. Like, all I know is they introduced it, government attacked it. They introduced it, companies got on board, government attacked it. Now people are leaving. That's all I know.
Wow.
What are you talking about?
So like Facebook's cryptocurrency Libra.
Oh.
Yeah.
But companies were on board.
Yeah, dude. Like PayPal was on board.
What was the biggest selling point of Libra?
I mean, it was just another cryptocurrency, like the distributed.
What made it special though? Like
That
why did companies?
Facebook started it. That's what made it special.
Okay.
Something special about it. I'm based on my limited knowledge.
Interesting. So, but now it's done.
It's not done. Like it's just like it's not talked about as much, and I haven't looked into it. Last time I saw was that people were leaving because I know PayPal were on board and they left, and that's huge. PayPal's a
Yeah.
financial
What did you say?
juggernaut. PayPal.
Yeah.
They left. They were on board and they left.
Oh, okay.
And having PayPal is a
That's
pretty
rough.
big deal, dude.
That's rough.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's weird, dude. Like, I don't know. Like, now in hindsight, it's easy to say that Facebook made a bad decision getting into creating their own cryptocurrency. But, dude, if that somehow works, dude, Facebook is gonna have so much power. it's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
that's what I was thinking. Like, it would be just that one company with a shit ton of power,
Dude,
right?
Because if that happened, because what Facebook has billions of people, right? Probably half the world. Now, when the other half of the
It's like 3 bill.
and right now it's 3 bill.
Wait, don't quote me on that, but I'm checking right now.
Okay, but whatever. It's a fuck ton of people, and that's when half the world doesn't have internet.
Oh my fuck. Wait.
What are the
Right
numbers?
now, okay, this is just from the start. It says, how many users does Facebook have? With almost 2.5 billion monthly active users, bro.
Okay.
That's active
Yeah.
month. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. So 2.5, and then WhatsApp, which is more than that.
Instagram.
Instagram. So right now with the half the world not having decent internet
Yeah, that's insane.
is half the world now. Neuralink, not Neuralink. What am I saying? Starlink. That's Elon Musk's
Elon Musk's Wi-Fi
satellite
project.
Wi-Fi project, and even Richard Branson, other guys are doing it. But when that happens, the whole world's gonna have internet. When that happens, pretty much the whole world's gonna be on Facebook. And when the whole world's on Facebook using Facebook's currency, guess what they've become? The US dollar.
But that type of power, right? Wasn't that the reason? I might be wrong, but like,
Yeah.
wasn't that why cryptocurrencies were created? Not to have one person have.
Yeah, no.
So
Yeah.
is it not
Yeah,
sustainable?
so like what they've done is they've created an entity, a non-profit entity named Libra. No, that's a cryptocurrency. They named it something, and that entity has made Libra.
Ori sounds fishy, dude.
Yeah. So like.
I mean, if it's blockchain, I personally think, or I predict that if this does pan out, what will probably happen is what happens with pretty much everything. The system matures, and whatever it is, the power, whatever it's of value, will shrink down and shrink down and shrink down to a few that are too big to.
Too big to fail this code.
Yeah, and that. Now, this is a much more complex economic topic than I can understand for sure,
Yeah.
the implications. But I do think that's what might happen to it.
What, power gets consolidated over time?
Power, yeah. It's just gonna get consolidated to a few. And we've seen that in many industries.
I mean, that's going to happen.
We've seen
but-
that throughout history. There's
Yeah.
always someone.
That's true.
Dude, did you know that, because, what's his name? Rockefeller, right?
Yeah.
He owned US Oil.
Yeah.
And when the antitrust cases came and fucked them up, all those companies got, because he literally owned US Oil, like 80 or some significant number. All of them got broken up into like 20 companies, something like that, some double-digit number of companies. And today, there are about 5 or 6 oil giants, and I want to say 3 or 4 of those 5 are descendants of those
Oh,
20
nice.
companies. Well, obviously now it's all under different names and shit and different people, but it's you get the idea.
Yeah.
Power always gets consolidated in a few.
Yeah, like
And those few might change, but
Mm.
it's always gonna be a few.
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean that's what
No
do you call it?
equality of outcome.
There is no equality of outcome. There's only equality of opportunity, and we should strive for
Yeah.
that. But equality of outcome is foolish in most ways you see it.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it has to be unequal if we live in a hierarchical society.
yeah, exactly.
Like you
That's
can't
why-
have either or.
That's why there's so many ideas that sound good, but when you just put them against this simple question, they break down. And most people, when you ask them, they will tell you, at least most people our age that I've talked to about this,
Yeah.
not a crazy amount of people, but I definitely engage in conversation about this often. They just say, yeah, I want equality of outcome. Why? Yeah, we should all be the same. We should all have equal effort.
Yeah.
No, we
Really
shouldn't.
mean it,
No, we
As soon
shouldn't.
as they get more stuff. they
Exactly,
want-
bro. Like you
that's
always
a-
want to be better than. I mean, like
Yeah.
you wanna.
You want to be better than average,
Yeah.
but that's what you're advocating for. You're advocating for average.
Exactly.
It-
So it's just like.
Yeah, dude. I mean that it's easy because once
It's easy.
like you mentioned last time, dude. Once you have that victim attitude, then
Which most.
adopting any idea that on the surface helps you is attractive.
Hey, what's a victim? What do you say? Victim?
Oh, so basically, just to recap of
Yeah.
last time for you, we're talking about how. Yeah, it's
How
nice to
college-
think of a completely equal society in theory, but we're just not wired that way.
Yeah.
And it's not a thing that I'm making up. Like most animals live in hierarchies.
Yeah, of
And
course.
we're no different. If you look into how, the way we organize ourselves, we just shape a lot of complex hierarchies, and it has a lot of implications to society. So that's what we're talking about,
Yeah.
and how. I mean, we're just watching
Yeah. So
them.
I mean, when I said victim attitude, what I meant was when this came up last time was what happens is the society the main message is go to college regardless of like cost or like it doesn't matter how much a college costs, it is still worth it. Therefore student debt taking student loans is always the correct option. That's the message that has been subliminally like put into all high school students in the US at least and internationally as well in my experience. And what happens then, they take all this debt and it doesn't work out, and now you have like a significant amount of debt. So then when you're trapped in the debt cycle, which is like
Yeah.
so when you have on average 30K debt and then you get trapped in the debt cycle, then it's very easy to say
Yeah.
because my parents told me this, school failed me, the system failed me, and that's the victim attitude that you're the victim here. And even though like that's not to say that they are completely at fault, but that's an example of the victim attitude that once everything like because of one bad decision that you did, everything doesn't work out, your life gets fucked, and then it's very at that point in time it's very easy to say that no, I'm in this position because of someone else, not because of me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
And the way people get to this position, we were also talking about this, is very systematic in nature. So, to the average person, it sounds right, and it's been ingrained and deepened in the
Yeah.
way they think because it was ingrained and deepened in the way their parents thought. The only caveat to that being that when their parents were in college, it was significantly cheaper.
Yeah. And it worked, dude. Like
It worked.
You got jobs are pretty much guaranteed.
Because that's the thing. They were cheaper, but there were also fewer. Now you see so many backyard colleges everywhere, not just in the U.S., everywhere in the world, and that just means everybody gets a degree, which I don't think it's bad that everybody's getting a degree. What I think is bad is that the market is getting flooded with people that get degrees that really aren't teaching anything. And some people might differ from me, but at least from what I've seen in Colombia, it's really bad because then you have the market overflowing with a lot of professionals, and that drives the price down. But that's the thing, anybody can get in. People go into debt and they throw their life away, dude, and it doesn't work out.
Yeah, dude, it's the worst effects are seen on those who don't have degrees, because what's happening now is because there's so many like college degrees and undergraduate degrees in the market, every employer expects a degree, and
Yeah,
and
that's
and that's one thing. And the second thing is because there are so many, there will always be applicants for those kind of jobs, and because by definition there's that surplus, some of them won't get a job, and then they go to jobs that won't really require college education, they only require high school education. And then in that case you have someone with a college degree applying for that job, and you have a guy who doesn't have a college degree applying for the same job because you don't need it, but like you can apply and you're completely skilled, proficient to do the job, but the other guy is also is he might not be, but he has a college degree, then naturally you're going to gravitate towards a college degree. So at the end of the day, the guys who don't have high school, who only have high school degrees, can't even do the jobs that he's allowed to do.
Yeah, that's the college situation is. It's
Yeah.
funny because we talk about it a lot in the U.S. perspective,
Yeah.
but I mean I don't know about India, but I know in South America, in general, there's this what do you call it? I don't know. We have an education problem, just a different type of problem. And the thing is, wealth is much more unevenly distributed back then.
Yeah.
So even when it's cheap for the people who have money, and even for people who have money here in the US, for example, it's not cheap to go to college. College is still an expensive endeavor.
Oh yeah. 100%.
The people in South America, they're getting a fuckle education. Fuckle, when I tell you fuckle, it means they'll start a college in a house.
Yeah. No, it's a business, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Same
And the
with
market
the-
just got over flooded with that.
Yeah.
People still go into debt.
Yeah, because it's the degree. Because if you don't get the degree, the credentials, you're useless. You can't even
Yeah.
get, because the degree, all it's worth is the first step, first step into the door. And without the degree, even if you may be completely proficient, you might be the best for all we know, but because you can't get the first step, and your chances are, well, nothing.
We were talking about this last time.
Yeah. Not to start repeating ourselves, but yeah, how do we get to the college situation or victimized attitude? Yeah, hierarchies do that, dude. That's one of the design flaws that just come with the one of the flaws that come with the design. So like, there's no real solution to it, at least at this moment in time.
Yeah, there's no real short-term solution for it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's definitely moving in the right direction, I think. That's what
Definitely,
we're doing.
Dude, I said this last time, but more people die from sugar than from gunpowder today, and that's a good thing.
There's more overworked people in the world than there is malnourished people. Meaning
Yeah.
that there's more obese people in the world
Yeah.
than there are people dying of hunger. And I think that's how thing.
Yeah.